Welcome to This Is My Story, a podcast dedicated to sharing your story and how God has helped you take next steps in your journey of faith. I'm your host, Austin Carrick, and let's dive into today's story. Thank you for joining us today as we dive into today's story. Today, I'm here with a very special guest, Jonny Orlando. Jonny is a videographer and one of the most just creative people that I know and just have the honor of knowing. We're going to talk today about just Jonny's testimony and what his story was like before knowing Christ and how he lived life and in pursuit of things. And in that whole time, God was just pursuing him and he wasn't even looking back or trying. And God was just going right after him. So we're going to share some of that story today. So excited to hear from you, Jonny. How are you feeling today, Jonny?
I'm good. It's funny to be on this side of things.
Oh, a camera,
because
yeah.
I'm always on the opposite end. But no, I'm happy to be here and happy to share my testimony.
That's so exciting. So we're going to start kind of at the beginning of life. What day were you born? No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to go that far back. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Jonny, and just kind of who you are, where you came from. I want to hear some of the creative bits too. Like, where did that start in your life? So start back as early as you can remember of those kind of memories and things.
Yeah. So for me, I'm born from two Puerto Rican parents.
Okay.
So like that like our culture has it's very ingrained in us very early on. And along with that, there's a lot of Catholic traditions. So I was baptized Catholic.
Okay.
We went to church maybe one Christmas, one Easter. Maybe one Ash Wednesday.
The Creasters, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't religion wasn't a big part of who we were.
It was more culturally you were doing it.
It was culturally,
Gotcha.
yeah. So it was never a prominent thing, but my parents were always like, hey, just be a good person and treat other people with respect.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped shape me as a person. But then, as I got older, it was just whatever the world had. So it was always I was always either following people, especially the wrong people, or just whatever the world said that you should do as a person is what I did.
Yeah.
So
you grew up in the Catholic Church, not really plugged into anything there. What age were you baptized?
2
years old. Okay.
Yeah, there's old VHS tape.
Is that a sprinkle? Is that a sprinkle you get there?
They pour a little bit of water on you, on your head.
Okay.
And I have a godmother and a godfather, the whole thing, and I was wearing a whole white suit.
Oh, yeah, I need to see this.
The VHS tapes are hilarious.
We need to see this. We need to see this VHS tape. So growing up, your parents were both in the picture then. Do you have any other siblings?
Yeah, so I have one sister.
One sister.
Older, 5 years apart.
Okay.
So, boy and girl, not a lot in common.
Yeah.
And just different stages of life.
Yeah.
So she definitely ties in back into the story though.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so excited to hear it. So growing up then, like I said, not very involved in the church. What was your middle school? What were some of those formative years for you then?
Yeah. So like I said, I followed people a lot. I had friends who were not leading me on the right path. I just kept following what the world told me to do. Not making right decisions, influenced by peer pressure, just kept choosing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And it's sad to say this, but feeling no guilt. That's how much we were removed from religion or faith or anything with Jesus.
Yeah. So be a good person, but there's not really a moral conduct of right or wrong. Just be a good person.
Yeah, just be a good person. And I was definitely doing things that my parents had no idea I was doing. And and to this day I don't think they know, but maybe.
Yeah.
But
so at this point in your life, was there any Christian influence at all?
None whatsoever.
Or all the influence you were hearing? Were there any specific figures that you looked towards and you were like, that's what I want my life to be like specifically?
Yeah, so in middle school and early high school, I was involved in a lot of sports.
Okay.
I played football, and then later on started getting an interest in boxing that kind of tied in with the culture a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a popular sport in Puerto Rico. And So I mainly looked up to athletes, and sometimes they're not the greatest, to look after.
Was there a prominent like Puerto Rican boxer or something? Was there anyone specific?
Yeah. So actually, my nickname was Cotto, which there was a boxer, Puerto Rican champ, Miguel Cotto.
Miguel Cotto.
So everyone said I looked like him. So like I started to like formalize like who I was, kind of like him, and he was a very humble person.
That's good. At
so
least.
like yeah. So like there was like humility in in that. So yeah.
So there was somebody specific, kind of like him, Cotto. You saw this person, you were like, wow, this person's achieving things. Like, that's something I want to do with my life, it sounds like. So the direction of your life was kind of, hey, like, I want to be someone, I want to do something, and you were allowing people to influence that.
Yeah.
And shape you then.
Yeah, so I always felt like my life had purpose. Like, I always felt like there was something bigger, like there was something more to life.
Okay.
And like it's funny to, think about that now because it's like, yeah, that was God. Yeah. Like God knew that there was more for me. I just kept going down the wrong path. You know, and I think, it does influence on who is in your life and who you're allowing to be in your life.
Yeah.
And I was nowhere near that. Like I wasn't allowing the right people into my life.
Did you have anybody that tried to speak into faith-based things into your life, or was that just not even in your sphere of influence?
So in high school, college, no. It wasn't until like after that like someone spoke into me and was like, hey, you should probably like think about some of the stuff.
Yeah. So obviously you're a creative, as we said before, you're a videographer. Where did that start in your life?
That started early on. So like I always loved art class. Like in high school, wasn't the greatest student. I was always like doodling in my notebook, like just drawing cartoons and what. So that's like, I felt like that's what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah.
Because I saw my parents work physical labor their entire lives, and they're still to this day. And they would come home tired, and I didn't want that.
Is that part of Puerto Rican culture as well?
I think so too. Like there's like when you look at it, like we come from people who worked in fields and like hard work, physical work. Like it's all about work. Like my grandfather, who I wasn't close with, like raised my dad to be like, you need to do hard work.
Does your hard work define who you are in a way? Or
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like just keep doing work.
So how did you feel having that passion in your heart to do something not that it's not hard work, but not physical labor? Like, was there conflict in you? Did your parents support it at all?
A little bit. So my sister had already, at the time, had left college.
Yeah.
She was going to school. My dad was like, I don't think you should go to college. Like, she was a great student, like straight A student, like all the things, and I wasn't. And my dad was like, maybe not. Like,
I could see that concern.
Maybe go to the military. Like that. Yeah, and I was like, no, like I don't want to do that. So he listened to me, and he allowed me to go into college and like be creative in that aspect. And in that whole time, still there was no influence of faith.
Yeah,
like that's like I think that's like still crazy for some people to hear. Is like, how are you a believer now?
Yeah. So you started doodling. Was there anything that moved you specifically? Was it like animation? You were like, I want to get more into this part of the creative field that pushed you towards videography, or?
Yeah. So I'll try, say it real quick. So I thought I was going to do like 2D animation, like grew up like watching TV and like loved cartoons. And like, that's what I thought I was going to do with my life. I'm glad that like it was revealed to me that early on that like, oh, you're not good at this.
That is good, yeah.
And it's really hard. Like to do hand-drawn animation from frame to frame is really difficult.
Yeah.
So that led me into more of like 3D stuff, which led to motion graphics, which then led to an internship that I had at a video production company.
Okay.
And being on set and like setting things up and like actually doing things with my hands, like that, I think like that culture of like is instilled of like do something with your hands. Like sparked that love for like video production. Like I love setting up lights. I love setting up all of this. Like it's just I like doing it.
At what point did that happen? Was that in high school? Was that in college?
So that was in college. So that was like
internship.
My last year of college. I had that internship, and that's what like changed the trajectory of like where I would end up, essentially.
Wow. So your whole life you're being influenced by people. Again, saying you're a good person. That's that's the goal. Be a good person. And you just had that kind of influence in your life. No actual faith-based relationships until a little later on, it sounds like. So you're in college. You're starting videography. You have this internship. Things, I guess, are looking really good from a worldly perspective. What was your relationship like with the Lord at that point, or were you not even there yet?
Still not there
Still
yet.
nothing.
Yeah. So like, for like my testimony is so important to me because of like, it doesn't matter where you're at in life or what age.
Yeah.
Like, it's never too late. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, so, I was working in video production and, was like always kind of like there's still something missing.
So you're getting some success, you're getting these things,
but it wasn't like fulfilling.
Nothing was hitting that purpose point. I kept trying to
fill what I was missing with relationships, with just what the world was like. Oh, just try this. Like that'll fill the hole. But it never was. So it wasn't until I was in a relationship with this girl who was a believer, but not like actively like going to church or anything like that. And she was the first person that was like, hey, like if our relationship is going to continue, like I feel like you should like, get involved. And like, I think my parents came from a lot of church hurt and they were like, in my mind, I was like, I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not for me. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm a good person.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, because that's what you're growing up hearing is, hey,
just,
if you're a good person, that's
doesn't matter.
The goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, if you're a good person, you'll go to heaven. Like, So
this is the first time that you had heard something of a challenge like that of like, are you going to be involved in church? Are you going to be involved in a relationship with Christ?
Yeah. So this was at like 24 and we dated probably for like 2 years. And then this leads to where everything started to change. So a 2-year relationship, I thought like this person, I was going to marry her. Like that's how like, off track I was.
Yeah.
And she breaks up with me like out of the blue. So I was like broken. And talk about filling.
Did she say it's not you? I need to focus on my relationship with God. Was that it?
No,
that wasn't the line.
It wasn't it. No. It was like it was as an adult, like that was like the hardest breakup or the hardest thing I had to go through. Like I've been very blessed. Like I haven't had too many hardships in life, like as an adult. But like that was like the big first thing. So I was like lost, and I mean lost, like in darkness, like for months.
Wow.
Just like that's how like messed up it got me.
Because in your mind, you're saying I'm a good person, I'm doing good things, and this is a good relationship, and now my identity is becoming in this relationship almost of, hey, that's somebody I'm going to spend my life with. This is where everything's going, and now all of a sudden it's over. Like it's done.
Yeah, it's like what I thought. Everything. My life up until this point was I thought was my choosing, my plan, and I know that now that it wasn't. But so it's like
everything to the world standards was going right.
I was doing what I was supposed to do, like in world standards.
Yep.
And it just rocked me.
Wow. So you go down this hole of, okay, this is where my life is, this is where it's headed, and now it's taken a drastic turn.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that like for you? Like hitting a point in your life where you're like, what's next? So what was that like?
Yeah, so it was next for me. I mean, I just try to, erase that and like push it down to like be happy. And I think at this point it was when God was like, God was gonna step in. Because I think he knew that I was too far removed, that I was not gonna go after God. Then he got to the point where he's like, all right, I'm stepping in and I'm gonna pull you out of this so I can show you what love is.
Yeah.
So, it's in the summer. I'm living in the city in Harrisburg, where like I grew up in a city. So I'm going for a run. So I listen to music. So I'm going to get my headphones. Oh, my car's locked. I live in the city. Go back in my apartment, come back down, and like I'm getting my headphones, locking my car, and some guy is walking. And he comes up to me and he says, hey, he's like, do you mind if I talk to you for a second? Normally, I'm like,
yeah, what's in your mind?
normally, I'm like, I'm good, man. Like, I grew up in a city. My parents were like, don't talk to strangers,
Yeah.
Like, it's like, and I was like, yeah, sure. And he goes, I feel like God is like telling me to talk to you right now. And I was like, oh, okay.
What is your authentic thought, like looking back as somebody who didn't have a relationship with God at all? What was your thought hearing somebody say that to you?
Yeah. So I was just like, this is weird. Like, why are you talking to me? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know you. And I'm a very introverted person.
Yeah.
So like, this is the last thing I want to do. But something, God, was having me like open and
Yeah.
like stay there. I know that now. At the time, I don't think I did, but it happened so fast. So he says to me, he goes, I feel like, I feel like there's something inside. He's like, do you feel like lost or like abandoned? And I was like, actually, yeah. Like I just got out of like a 2-year relationship. And he's like, do you mind if I pray for you real quick? And I said, no, I don't mind. So he put his hand on me. And like this whole time I'm like feeling something and like just starting to stir inside.
Yeah.
And he prays for me. And, I thank him. And then he goes, have you ever accepted Jesus into your life? And I said, no. And he's like, do you want to say that prayer now? And I was like, yeah. And like, I'm getting that same feeling right now. Like it was just shivers and like, just like shaking. And later on, I talked to one of our pastors and he said that was the veil being removed. It's like after saying that prayer, like I just felt so much lighter.
Yeah.
Like just a weight off my shoulders. Had an amazing run because I was like
the fastest you'd ever been.
Yeah. So like just elated. And so right after I finished my run, I was like, I need to call my sister. So my sister grew up the same way I did. She recently had been baptized along with my nephew. Like
at that point.
Yeah. So they decided they became believers. Like they came to find Jesus, and they had just both been baptized. And I was like happy for them. I was like, that's cool. So I was like, I got to call her. So I call her and she's just like crying on the phone. My brother-in-law crying. He's like a big guy. Like they're both crying and they're like, we've been praying for you to be saved. So and that's the moment where like everything kind of like changed for me. Was like, okay, I know what it like the feeling is like there.
Yeah.
So
wow, that's incredible. What an incredible testimony of just God coming after that one. I know you were sharing that earlier of just his pursuit of you, even when you're not in pursuit of him.
Right.
Is there anything you want to expand upon on that thought?
Yeah. So like, the thing is, it's like for anyone listening, like if you're not a believer, like don't wait. Like don't do what I did, don't wait. Like, yeah, God came after me, but like it's so much better when you start going after God. Because there was a moment in time where I slipped right back into the world. Yeah. And it wasn't until, 2020 where my now wife invited me to come to church.
Yeah, let's go into that a little bit. So, let's get us then more closer to present day. Yeah. So you give your life to the Lord. What kind of next steps did you take then?
So I gave my life to the Lord, started going to church in Harrisburg, was loving it, moved, and then just stopped. And
just stopped. You were like, yeah, I'm not there anymore.
I was like, yeah, it just kind of like not there. And COVID hit. So that'll
change things.
That'll change everything. I was like, oh, world, Yeah. So, but then 2020, my now wife invites me to Victory Church, and she's thinking like I'll eventually show up, and I was like, let's go this Sunday.
Yep, I love when she tells the story. I've had her tell it to me. Yeah. She's like, yeah, I was like, you should come to church with me sometime. And she says, and then I just received this text said, what about this Sunday? And her side of the story, I love when she tells it, because she's like, wait, what? But yeah, go ahead and share that.
Yeah. So we come to church, and I loved it instantly. I was like, this is awesome. Like PC's message was great. Now I don't remember it, but it's crazy now to think where it started to where I am now on staff. Yeah. If you would have told me 2 years ago, 3 years ago that I'd be on staff at a church, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. Yeah. Like me, like I'm a sinner, you know what I mean? Like I'm not welcome there, but like that's the power of Jesus. Yep. It's like
only he can do it.
Only he can do it, and he can change you. And like being on staff has helped me even more. And yes, it is a blessing to be here, but like it's because God did it.
Yeah.
Like everything up until this point in my life and moving forward, I know it was God's plan.
Yeah.
Like it was never about me and like me doing it. And like, boy, has my life been so much better. Like
Than just being a good person.
a good person.
Wow.
You know, complete 180 in my life. And you know, it's just like God is so powerful and so loving. It's like, you know, it's yeah. I just would never think that I'd be married with kids and like all this stuff coming. You know, being at church every Sunday is just. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
it's a blessing.
It's such a work of the Lord in your life, and it's been evident and just beautiful to see that between you and your wife Kelsey and the girls, and just how God is just moving in your life. It's just incredible to see, and like your testimony is such an encouragement, hopefully, to those listening. Of just if you're running from God, like don't forget that He's pursuing you.
Yeah,
like stop, take a moment, and just pursue Him back, and I promise He will never let you down. So
absolutely.
What an honor, Jonny, to be here with you today. It's fun to have you on this side of the camera and on the microphone with us. So thank you for sharing. And for our listeners, we love you guys. We hope you are having a blessed day. Be encouraged and remember, God is always pursuing you. Take care. Be blessed. Thank you for joining us on this episode of This Is My Story. Hearing these incredible accounts of God's work in our lives reminds us of the enduring power of faith. If you've been moved by these stories, don't forget to subscribe on your preferred podcast platform and on YouTube. And don't forget to share the inspiration with others who might need it. This Is My Story is recorded at Victory Church in the heart of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. You can learn more about This Is My Story and Victory Church in the show notes. Thank you for listening and be blessed.